Let's go to Mick in Nottingham. Mick, good evening.
Hello there, thanks for taking the call. So I've worked for an organisation for nearly 20 years. During the COVID times, we switched to remote working. Productivity went through the roof. Nobody was working in an office, obviously. During that period, or towards the end of it, I took on a new role, applied for it, and I was successful. And although there was technically a office base, which is a long way from where I live, I was told verbally that there was no way that this was ever going to happen, that they would require people to come into the office. And it's transpired that they now want people to work 2 days a week in the office. So given that I've been working remotely completely for best part of 3 years, are they allowed to suddenly enforce this? Or does the fact that I've been working remotely for that amount of time mean that there's a substantive and, enforceable change in my terms and conditions that I can object to?
Yeah, you're really asking whether your terms and conditions have been varied by custom and practice.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Just sorry, Mick, you may have said this and I may have missed it. Apologies if I wasn't listening. But what does your contract say about where you work from?
It says that I have an office base, which is in a city which costs £50 each way to get to. It doesn't specify the amount of time. Yes, it's a long way away. It costs me best part of £500 a week.
Wow.
In order to do, £500 a month in order to do this. It doesn't specify how often.
I mean, you're based in Nottingham. How far away is the office?
A good 70 miles away.
Okay. Wasn't that the case before 2020, or have you moved since then?
I have moved, but about the same distance.
So you're paying. So before COVID, you were paying £500 a month anyway.
Well, things were a lot cheaper then. The train fares were a lot cheaper, and the difference between what I was being paid and what you could buy with that money was a lot different as well.
All right.
I was going in 2 days a week before,
Yep.
And that was manageable. I was also a remote worker then.
Okay, so Mick,
contractually,
I'll come back to the question you asked, which is 3 to 4. Well, it's 4 years now since COVID. Is 4 years enough to change your terms through custom and practice? I'm afraid it's not. Especially when you would have signed a new contract in the middle of that 4-year period with your new job role, and you re-signed that you were expected to work from, or could be required to work from the office 2 days a week. Custom and practice won't, other than in exceptional circumstances, override express terms in an agreement that you've agreed to. Custom and practice can work when you haven't agreed something in the contract. It can become contractual through custom and practice, but it's very rare it can override something you've actually signed. And in this situation, it won't, I'm afraid. What I would do, Mick, because legally you don't have a hugely strong case to say, I'm not coming into the office, maybe see if you can negotiate with them, or even negotiate some sort of pay rise to reflect the very high travel costs that you've got. Are you valuable enough to the company that they might give you a pay rise or an allowance to reflect that?
Possibly. I didn't actually sign any contracts.
Doesn't matter. If it's in the contract that you were given, you can't say, well, I didn't sign it, so it's not binding. If you worked under those terms, it's binding, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so negotiation's the way forward.
I think it is. I think this isn't a constructive dismissal situation where you could resign and claim constructive dismissal.